Machines are not going to do the job for you. The job is done by humans. Machines are instruments or devices that you use to complete your assignments.
Hello, friends, and welcome to a new episode of Merging Minds, the podcast brought to you and powered by BureauWorks, the TMS. We're killing it with AI today. As in every podcast, I'm bringing you somebody that is influential, somebody that is doing something or that has done something for our industry, somebody who has a journey that is worth sharing, some great experiences for us to reflect on and to think of, right? And today I'm thrilled, as always, but today specifically to bring one of my good industry friends, Pep, Josep Bonet. Hola, Pep. How are you doing, my friend?
Very well. I'm very happy. I'm really excited about this podcast.
How, like, where are you based? What you're from Spain. Tell us your story first of all.
Well, I'm originally from Spain, from a middle-sized city called Valencia, which is on the Mediterranean.
Nobody knows Valencia. Nobody knows Valencia. Nobody's
Nobody knows
heard of
Valencia,
Valencia.
but well, it's close to Barcelona, so many people have been there. I'm sure. And I went to Barcelona at a certain time, at a certain age. I was 13, and I studied there. I um, um, I studied my career, which was chemistry. Come on, what's a chemist doing in this world? That's something that I can explain. Uh, the explanation is quite simple. Chemistry was not a good thing to study at the time. Not much work there. I was not very much interested in heavy industry, so I ended up in training, in education. I was teaching mathematics to small girls. That was exciting, but to a certain point. And then one day my wife told me we must leave this country for different
Wow.
reasons. She wanted to go um, uh, to go elsewhere and so on. So she showed me an advert. They were asking for translators in Europe, in the European Commission at many years ago. And she said, "You can go there. You try." And I wasn't sure, but they said, "Yes, I tried." And then we leave. And it worked. Probably that the need was very high because they recruited me, who was not the best adapted for the task. I'm not a
If they
trained
recruit you,
translator.
they can recruit anybody. That's what you probably thought, right? That moment, man.
Yeah, I always remember during the exam there was a written exam, and somebody asked the invigilator, listen, how many people are you going to take? And he said, you pass the exam, and then we'll take everybody that passes. So the thing was passing the exam. I did pass the exam, and I went to Luxembourg. At the time, I thought it was going to be Brussels, but apparently they decided that it should be Luxembourg. And I discovered a wonderful city that I
And you
recommend to
stay.
everybody. It's the
And you
green
stay.
heart of Luxembourg. It's full of forests and full of new buildings, and the country develops and the city develops, and it's a place
Yeah,
to live. And that's where I'm based in Luxembourg. I never went back
yeah,
to
yeah.
Barcelona.
And so Pep is so for you friends to know, Pep has recently retired from the industry after 35 plus years working there in all positions, holding very important leadership roles. Today we'll go through his journey, right? And as I said, retired. Now you're seeing everything happening from far away from the line of fire, right? How is that life? Like for an active person like you, how is life after localization?
Well, to be honest, I thought there was no life after localization, but there is one. That is one. You can do many things. You can continue reading. You can follow LinkedIn. You can have your friends like yourself that you connect with. I go to events. I keep alive, and also I do things I like. I help my wife because my wife continues working, and I help her, and I read a lot, and I enjoy a lot of time in culture. So there are good things to do.
It's an honor to have you here, and it's like I think people like you have an incredible journey to share and to inspire all of us. So let me go back to the beginning. Let's go down memory lane. Imagine we're in '89. Music is still new wave. Grunge is getting there to us, right? And then you jump into the localization industry from a chemistry background, right? like how was tell us about the state of the industry back there. How was it? Like how were you even called? Was it localization, like localization department, translations department, the fools that translate? What was it called? What was it called back then?
Well, since I was working in an institutional setting, we still use the term translation. At the time, it was a translation service. So the stress on service. But technology-wise, it was the pressing,
Oh
the
wow.
pressing. And I arrived, I used to tell people that still listened to me that the most technological piece of equipment that I had there was a magnetophone, a dictaphone I had, and I couldn't use it. I tried twice, and the assistant typing what I was dictating told me, Pep, listen, stop using the dictaphone because you bang it and you bang it against the everything you find. We are suffering. Our ears are bursting. So I went back into handwriting my translations. That was the situation back in '88. It
Oh
was
wow. Nah, well,
terrible.
I mean, in 2050, people are gonna laugh about how we started acquiring how we started getting the use of AI. Period. So like they're gonna say like you guys are dinosaurs. No, we lived through it, right? And that's the
Mhm.
beauty of this all, no?
I mean, well, things advanced and they changed enormously in a short time. It's not true that there was no technology. I mean, in some places you could have a PC, and then they had these big machines there computing and blah blah blah. And on the first electronic devices that we had in the offices were like dumb terminals. Green terminals, talking to a distant machine that had worked two floors down, and it took ages to write and to correct things. But in 3 years' time, we started having PCs, and from there everything went
Yeah.
extremely quick. In 10 years, we had translation memories,
Yeah.
and uh, and by the way, we were using machine translation already at the time.
Oh, wow. Okay. 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 Okay.
Very
So
nice.
and this makes me think like you've lived through a lot of phases. I was interviewing recently three friends who had a very long career in Microsoft, and they were also talking about how it was like translating faxes, like the problems back then, starting the industry, and it makes me think of the following, and it also makes me think of the relationship of friendship and mentorship I have with you, because you and I sit often and talk a lot about stuff, life, whatever, and stuff like that. But and now, thanks to organizations like Women in Localization or others out there, mentoring and getting started in the industry is quote unquote easier than it was before. I think that's my take, right? So if you look back in your journey, let's jump back to those early days, if you may. Who would you look into for mentorship? And I always believe that mentoring and helping each other and asking someone when there's doubt, it's important for your growth, for your job, and for everything, right? But if you think of those early days in the industry where we were less connected, let's say, who would you go and look into for mentorship? How was it back then? Who would you go and ask for? Can you help me with this problem?
Yeah, I mean, this mentorship thing is very important, and I think that we have advanced enormously. When I arrived to the office the first day, I was dropped there, and it was around the New Year vacation time, and there were a few people, and nobody told me what I should do, what I shouldn't do. Later on, we put in place a mentoring system where people at least would take you by the hand and show you the administrative part and also a bit how to work and so on. But I looked for mentoring myself, looking at my peers.
Okay,
There was
wow,
a colleague
interesting.
there who came with a long experience and with a strong personality. And he became a manager pretty soon, and then he became my manager. And then when I was going up the ladder, he was once more my manager. And he was a wonderful source of mentoring because he was uh, I would say he was cold in his relation with people in the work. Outside, he was a normal person, but in the work who tried not to go for coffees with people and so on, but he always had good advice. So what I would go to Paco and ask, listen, Paco, I have a problem there. What would you do? And he would tell me. He was quite clear and quite obvious. And sometimes he told he told things that you said, "Oh, but you cannot say that." I said, "Yes, I've said it." So a
This
little
is
bit,
this is these are the 90s. We can say
yeah,
anything we want.
it was wonderful. I mean, he was really empowered, and
Yeah,
he transmitted this feeling of empowerment, and that was kind of my model. I had
yeah,
other models as well, a bit softer, a bit
yeah.
more feminine in approach. But I liked Paco.
Oh, okay. This makes me think of like I mean I am thankful and lucky that I can talk with a lot of industry friends, and a lot of them they always complain about, oh my god, my boss is killing me, my boss is bad, whatever, I need mentorship. And it makes me think of the following. It makes me think like I'm still in my early 40s, and I've been working for the last 12, 15 years, no more than that. But I've had good and bad bosses, and I'm talking about in the industry, not in the industry. In the industry, no, I've been lucky, but outside of the industry, and I've been able to learn from both, from people that was like, I don't want to be like this guy, and I want to be like this guy, right? What is the importance of that? Do you what like what is your take on this? What do you think?
Well, my take, two things I would like to say. First, if somebody tells me I need mentoring because I have a problem with my boss, blah blah blah, I would say, Listen, it's good to ask for things, but it's even better that you yourself find somebody that you can trust and you discuss with and so on. If you are waiting for somebody to solve your problems, you are part of the problem. That's a first reaction. And the second one is that I fully agree with you. I think that you learn from good bosses and from bad bosses. And why? If you only have good bosses, you are never confronted with the harsh reality, which
Mm.
is that shit happens. Excuse my French. So that you must also be aware of what are the problems that you can find, you can encounter. So it's better that you cross these people, especially early in your career, so that you learn and you say, okay, I know what I want to do. I want to be like this guy. I don't want to be like that guy.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, and I believe it's important. So I believe also from my experience in these difficult moments, it's so I can remember it's so frustrating to work with somebody that you cannot connect with, and it's impossible. It's like always it's always barriers. It's always like like let's explain a funny one in Spain in Spanish, and Pepe's gonna understand this very well. We have an expression that says like you drown yourself in a glass of water, meaning like out of anything you do a small problem, right? And I remember working with somebody like this back in my earlier days because you're young, oh, you're always young, and was so frustrating. I think was a problem, but it made me think as we were discussing now, like, hey, you look back and I was like, oh my god, this this made me learn. I just don't want to be like this person. Like everything is frustrating, everything is bad, and that helps one moving forward. So, and then on the other side, I've had like super good relationships with common friends that helped me a lot in my career, like our friends Josep Kubowski, our friends Renato, people that really help, that really, this is good mentoring, right? And it's important to have that, no?
Yeah, and I think also that these bad colleagues that you mentioned, and we all have bad colleagues. I mean, it's statistical fact that there are bad colleagues and good colleagues and the middle ones. But these bad colleagues teach you a lot for the moment when you become a manager. And when you become a manager, you must identify these guys because you know how disruptive a guy like this is. If a guy like this says, I'm not going to do my part, you do my part or nobody does it, and then you have to do it. You know how painful for people is having to deal with this kind of people. And
Yeah,
there's a difference. When you're a manager, you have more power.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
power is
yeah.
limited. Sometimes it's limited. You need to devise approaches how to neutralize these people, how to mobilize those people. Not
Yeah,
easy.
it's super interesting, and this leads me to our next part of this interview, of this talk, my friend. Is your leadership journey. 35 something years in our industry. Now you're seeing everything, as we say in Spanish, from detrás de la barrera, like out behind the barrier, and you see all the stuff. But you've had a great leadership journey, and you've led teams in the European Union, in the World Trade of World Commerce Organization, right? Which is incredible. How did you get started in leading? Like, was it like, were you appointed? It's like, were you like helping teams and somebody came and said, oh, dude, you do this very well. Now you're going to lead them. How was that? How was that?
In my case, I know there are people that prepare for that, that prepare all their lives, and that they decide that I want to be a leader and they start working that. In my case, it was just a natural development. I started getting interested in things, and I started attending meetings, technical meetings, for example, and contributing. And people look at you, and then at a certain point, for example, there was after less than 4 years in my career, that was supposed available in the IT department, and they needed a translator for stupid administrative reasons. So somebody said, well, somebody from the help desk, they said, well, I know Pep, he knows quite a bit about those things. He looks interested. I was brought there and I was put in charge of the team. So I became a team leader just naturally. Then I went back to my place to translation after 3 years, but I was doing other things, and then a number of three strategic positions appeared in the Spanish-speaking world, and there was this Spanish director who told me, "Listen, we have been thinking, and I think that this guy goes there, the other guy goes there, and you go here." And it happened like that. And I became a manager there. And then there was a reduction in the number of structures, and we were two Spanish bosses in Luxembourg, and it was to be reduced to one. And I thought, well, that's the end of it.
So
But
I'm
there was
loving.
a position elsewhere, and the assistant to the DG came and she said, listen, Josep, I think that you should apply there. So you see, it was progressive and it was not steered by me. It was steered probably by the way I was working, but not by things that I were doing towards a purpose.
Yeah, yeah. It's incredible because a lot of people that listen to us and follow this podcast, some of them are starting their journey in the industry. They're students from universities or masters, etc., and they're getting ready to have that leadership position just out of the box. And that's not happening normally, right? You need to earn your things. You need to get them. You need to be there. You need. I think if I could give some view of what I've seen, it's like not even my opinion. It's like create opportunities. You gotta be there. Just gotta be there, and then the opportunity, if you can do it, it comes, right?
I think that these guys that you are talking about, they have an advantage compared to me. First, they are young, and I started at past 30, and secondly, they come with training in these things. I had to learn on the job, and I had to learn by attending courses while already doing that. But whether you learn earlier or later, it doesn't change a thing. You
But
need to be good
yeah,
at what you do.
like this, I have a small disagreement there with you, and I'm telling you because Anna Schlegel, my great friend, sister from another mister, she was here recently, and she was talking about the importance of the role of studying, keeping learning to become a good leader. You're normally not appointed from the beginning, but you get there and you have to continue learning. I'm reading about stuff that I all the time and things, and so I can comment. So I see the importance of this, right? Continue learning. It evolves. It's flexible. Like you got to be flexible, no? So
I fully
that
agree with you.
my small disagreement with you. That's
No,
all
but
right. Like,
there's no
like
disagreement, Javi. There's no disagreement. I think that continuous learning is essential. I
yeah.
mean, you might learn your basics at university or wherever, but then you learn mostly by doing. That's what you learn most. But you also learn by reading books, by attending seminars, attending courses, whatever. And but
Mhm.
the learning process is continuous. It never stops.
Yeah. And it comes from somebody that studied law and somebody that studied biochemistry. So there is hope for you.
As a matter,
Like,
as a matter
uh,
of fact, it's more important to be flexible and adaptable than to have a very good initial training.
yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And in these years of career, like how has your leadership style evolved? Because you were not the same once you were appointed that day as you were when you left. Because when I was introduced to you, I remember saying like, you have to go. Like this is 5 years ago. Go talk to Pep. He's an incredible mentor leader. He's leading these teams, and then he has very wise solutions and ideas, etc. Right? But the first day you were not like this. So tell us how this has evolved, or tell me about pivotal moments that you saw like, hey, oh my God, this changed my way of seeing the way I lead teams, or you know.
I've never been the kind of people who, I mean, I'm no Zuckerberg, and unlike Zuckerberg, I don't like to break things and then start anew. I like to start introducing small changes, and little by little, when you realize after 6 months or 1 year, you've changed an enormous things. So what I my style of leading is based on talking, 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 understanding my people. This thing that you are told in training courses, walk the talk. I try to not be in my office, but walk and talk to other people. I try to be involved in technical discussions. I was not the technical guy. I mean, um, I understand what the technicians are talking about, but I couldn't do what they are doing because I'm not a trained developer or whatever. But I want to know what's happening everywhere to understand, so that when people come to me for ideas, I can give a general sense of direction, because that's what is expected from a leader. I remember once reading about a guy who took over Chrysler at a certain point, and people were after a big crisis, oh, by the way, and people were going there and asking for solutions, and his answer was, "If I knew the solutions, I wouldn't be working here." Because no, if I knew the solutions, you wouldn't be working here, because I would be doing your job. I'm here to give you the general direction, and that's what
Yeah.
I was trying to do.
Yeah, that's very insightful. Thank you. Thanks for saying that. I will not forget this one. You don't have to know everything, but you need to know. But you can help with guidelines. Right? That's very interesting. That's very interesting. It makes a lot of sense. But
Yeah,
I
as
have
a
I
matter
have
of fact, there's this idea of the helicopter view. You must
yeah,
have you must raise 2 or 3 steps over the rest and see what the others are not seeing, and have a vision. And the vision is not peyote or or some kind of drug. A vision is to think, where where would I like to be, or where would I like this organization to be in 5 years.
oh, okay, that's good. That's
And
very interesting.
that's your role.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I have like whenever I have guests in the interview, like we always talk about the insights, change, what's changing, cut tools, machine translation, Gen AI. But now that I have you here, I want to ask you what has not changed since you started until today in the industry, in the localization industry.
What has not changed? Well, one thing that has not changed is the commitment of the actors in the industry to the good result that they know that they can provide. They have a pride in what they are doing. They want to provide the best results. Sometimes the result is not what was to be expected, but not because they don't put a lot of effort, but because the processes put in place by the bosses are not correct. But the engagement, this is there. Um, a positive attitude in general to change is there. There are people who are reluctant to change, but in general, the attitude is positive. I think that this industry has been qualified for years as a very back-looking kind of industry trying not to change, blah, blah, blah. But when you look at AI, the most development in AI that we have seen for years in history has been in this industry. And AI is transforming the whole planet. So I think that there are good elements there that remain and that we need to nurture. And the
Yeah.
thing is our people, and we need to nurture our people.
Mhm. It's very interesting. It's like our common friend was saying the other day in a talk, in a conference, in his keynote speak. He was talking about evolution and how we're in a moment of finding new ways thanks to what's going on now, what has not changed, and the importance of being disruptive and the importance of embracing disruption. And also, he was pointing out that it's more disruptive, the presidency of the United States right now, than AI or things like that. And I believe now. I
Yeah,
believe in that as well, right?
I think it's right. I mean, AI. There's a fear to AI, like there was a fear towards translation memories and all kind of helps in the past, and I think it's a fear to things unknown, to things that you don't master. But
Yeah.
when people start not knowing, people start embracing. One of the things that I discovered while trying to sell internally AI, machine translation to my teams, statistical machine translation at the time, the thing I discovered is that they wanted to know how it works. And I was telling myself, why do they need that? Probably
Mhm.
because I knew how it works. So for me, it was not a need. But they needed to know it. Once they know how it works, they feel more comfortable. They feel that they are not dealing with a black box. This idea of dealing with something that you don't know what comes out of it is very disturbing. And I have a
Mhm.
personal experience with all the software that we normally use. There's one kind of software I mm, I've had difficulties in coming to terms with, which is databases. You know why? Because I know that it's full of information there, but I'm never sure that the information I'm getting from it is the correct one, because
Mhm.
it depends so much on the question that you ask. And so
Mhm.
you need to understand very well how things work to be comfortable with technology.
It's super interesting because our industry language is the most humane thing in the planet, probably, right? And it's deeply human. Uh, 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 and I have a question for you. How did you keep the human element while scaling tech in some of the moments you had to do that during your life, your career?
The thing is the following: machines are not going to do the job for you. The job is done by humans. Machines are instruments, are devices that you use to complete your assignments. I always, at a certain point in a presentation that I made, I was comparing a translator with a roadworks worker, with a road worker. I imagine a discussion between two road workers saying, should we use a machine to extract all this earth from here, or should we do it with a shovel? There's no discussion. The shovel is not there. You must do it with a machine. So the idea that for translators, what they need to know is that it's them who are doing the job, that the machines that they are using are there to help them and not to replace them. And there's a lot of harm being done by all those vendors that say, well, AI will replace translators in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whichever time you put me, it's false. They are not going to replace them. That's not the approach. They are going to help them. Okay.
Yeah, and also business people, salespeople like me, I can reach more people thanks to AI now, and that's the truth. So
Yeah.
it's embraceable, right? Hey, Pep, I don't want to take more of your time, but I have a couple more questions that I thought of. One is like, what do you miss of your working life? What does I'm not there yet, and I don't know what I'm gonna miss. What I'm gonna miss when I retire one day. What do you miss the most?
Certainly, I don't miss getting up early.
I was
I
gonna ask you after what you don't miss, but you started by that one.
Yeah, because I start with things I don't miss. I don't miss certain meetings where I was obliged to attend and they were not interesting. I don't miss those colleagues who always wanted to speak, not to say anything interesting or to repeat something that they had heard from somebody else so that they could be considered the creators of the idea. But more or less all the rest I miss. I miss Mm, I miss all these coffees in the coffee shop. I miss all these meeting with people, all these discussions, all this traveling and attending conferences, although I keep attending 2 or 3 per year, but I would like more. And I miss all this excitement of producing new things
Oh,
and delivering new products. All those things I miss. I think
you're
that
still involved with some projects. I'm aware that you're helping our friends at NIMSI and stuff like that, right? So
Yeah, well, I'm doing some consulting, yes, with NIMSI, and that's extremely interesting, and I learn a lot from them, and they learn from me, and that's nice. But it's not the same dimension. It's not like when I worked in a listen translation in the European Commission at the time when I was working there. At a certain point in time, there were 3,500 people. It's
no.
enormous, and I got to know many of them, and I had many relationships, and it was great. Later in WTO, when in the trade organization, it was smaller, but still it was 100 plus, and it was a lot of interaction, and then you had the other people you were serving. It was exciting.
Yeah. So I get from you that the human element is the most important across industries, across fields, and I'm glad you came and talk about this here today, Pep, because Emerging Minds' number one goal is to bring the human element to our industry, to discover all of our leaders who are out there, or they're just a picture on LinkedIn, or people follow them, that they're human, and no matter what, being human. So, Pep, thanks so much for being here. You're a star. You're my mentor. You're a good friend. It's crazy. We've known each other for 5, 6 years, and we never met in person yet, and we still have these virtual coffees in which we open. And let's keep that up, my friend. I'm always here for you. Thank you.
I know you are there, and we must resolve this problem that we
We
have.
must resolve this problem and get a couple of gin and tonics and take them out and then resolve the world's problems, AI and everything. That's
Exactly.
us. That's us, my friend. Thanks so much for being here, my friends. Until the next episode of Merging Minds. Bye.
Bye.